Yes. Second term is the term that determines whether you are leaving the bar course or you are staying at the bar course. Starting from Friday, we are going to be acquiring marks. Whether you like it or not, you have to attend Friday. Okay? Unlike those days when people could miss the IAs, this time round, okay? Whether you want it or not, you are here. And besides that, every activity in second term matters than ever. Okay? Whatever you don't grasp, wait for the orals. They will determine. Okay? 90% of you here in corporate and commercial, you're going to receive a question from procurement. It will either be procurement or disposal or administrative review in orals, whether you like it or not. Reason, 90% of us at the back course, it is our first time to hear about the question known as procurement. Okay? With the exception of the few who work in government entities. Okay? Those who work in local governments, in scheduled corporations, they understand procurement. Okay? But it being just a course unit, it is a different story. So, the reason why we are here today is to appreciate Workshop 2, which is procurement. Okay? Not only appreciating it, but also preparing for orals. Because once you study this, not coming back. You wait in orals, they hammer you, you cry and move out. As simple as that. Okay? But I believe we are all going to pass orals from here. Inshallah. Okay? So, as I've always been putting it right and clear, that corporate and commercial is divided into two. It is divided into what we call corporate transactions and commercial transactions. We've already said that corporate transactions, these are transactions that require establishment of entities. Then commercial transactions, these are transactions that deal with exchange of money. So your second term until the time you leave LDC, you're going to be dealing with commercial transactions now. Corporate transactions are done. That is company, partnerships, sole proprietorships, NGOs, trustees. So if you didn't appreciate corporate transactions, now we have commercial transactions. So the first commercial transaction that you dealt with was sale of. So if today ended when you didn't appreciate sale of goods, wait in orals. Okay? Wait in orals. So the second corporate transaction, commercial transaction is procurement. So inshallah, by the end of this session, we are going to have appreciated everything in procurement. Reading the act and understanding the workshop, inshallah. So, to simplify our work, we are going to raise the following questions. The first question is, what is procurement? You know why? You can't deal with something you don't understand. The question is called procurement. So, can you deal with something you don't understand? So, first ask yourself, what is procurement in the first place? Okay? Then we are going to answer these questions. Keep reading the act. Okay? Then after understanding what is procurement, ask yourself, who does procurement? Who does procurement? That will be our second question to answer. Okay? Then our third question will be, what do we procure? What do we procure? Then after understanding what we procure, we shall ask ourselves the next question. What should be followed when procuring? Those are the principles of procurement. Then after understanding what to be appreciated, that question, our next question will be, who supervises the procurement we are talking about at the national level? Then we shall ask ourselves, how do we procure? How do we procure? Okay. Then lastly, what remedies are available in circumstances of not procuring according to the law? Okay. That's how we are going to be moving. Hope we all have our acts now. Those questions are going to be answered. I know the biggest challenge you guys are going to face is appreciating the procurement cycle. Okay. But I'm going to handle that cycle at a particular stage. Where okay. So let's take our first question is, what is procurement? Someone with the act. Let's get our act. I'm going to be picking random. You see this act, okay? It is the hardest act to read. Reason, it has a lot of regulations. For you to understand the cycle, you should be able to read this act in its entirety, whether you like it or not, okay? Because every step has regulations, okay? During our year, we failed corporate and commercial because of that act, okay? Because Golava Act nino gamba njagisoma at my own time, but you're gonna lava for Friday. This eye is counting. You look at your neighbor, you see how they'll be sweating opening that act to get the answer. I pray they don't give you our paper as the IA. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so let's go to the interpretation section. It defines what is procurement. Yes, Council Mercy. Section 2 is the interpretation section. Non so? It defines what is. Before, let's all open our acts. Just at the top, okay? The long title of that act is known as Public Procurement and Disposal. That question, if you want to read and understand it, divide it into two. First, read the procurement. After understanding procurement, then go and read disposal. You can't read procurement and dispose at the same time. Reason, you can't dispose of something you've not procured. So for you may want to read both at the same, it will give you hard time, okay? And after you appreciating procurement, even if you don't read disposal, because they are the same things literally, okay? So the reason why I'm only talking about procurement, we are dealing with the first branch of the act known as procurement, okay? Are we together? Okay, so after us dealing with procurement, we shall cross to disposal. Okay, so let's understand what is procurement. Yes, cancel it. Maximize your voice. You never know. Okay, someone may be here interested in hearing your voice for the first time. Hey, you're practicing for orals. Okay, not in bad faith, cancel. Okay.
Section 3.
The interpretation section. Okay. This act, its interpretation section is section 3. Okay. Look at section 3 and define for us what is procurement.
Procurement means.
Are you guys hearing? Can simplify.
Procurement means.
Do you have the act? We are following, eh? Yes,
It means acquisition by purchase, rental, lease, hire purchase, license, tenancy, contract or any other manufacturing of any type of work, services, or supplies or anything.
Okay, so that very definition tells you that procurement is acquisition. So basically what you should understand, that procurement is acquisition. It doesn't matter how you have acquired, but provided you have acquired. The act has just gone ahead to give you a few ways they have started through: rental, purchase, lease, etc. Okay, so that means there are other ways other than those mentioned in, but the catchword here is basically acquisition. Once you acquire, it is okay. Okay, first question is done. Our next question. What's our next question? Who does procurement? Okay, procurement is done by what we call a procurement entity. Okay, a procurement entity. When you look at the long title of the act, it is known as public procurement. What does that imply? That this act operates on public entities. So this implies that procurement is done by a procurement entity. So does the act define what amounts to a procurement entity? Let's get to the act. Does it define entity? Okay, let's go to section 3. Council is reading from this side. Okay, Council Daniel is reading. Let's go to section 3.
Okay. Procurement
Entity.
and it's okay. Procurement entity means a ministry of department, sorry, ministry or department of government.
So when you read that section, it is giving you different things that amount to a procurement. The first category is a ministry or department of government. So what does that imply? You should be able to understand that this entity is a department of, in our year they gave us Mulago Nursing School. So little did we know that Mulago Nursing School is a public entity, and you saw problems in the IA. Okay, Mulago Nursing School is a department of government, but for us we only knew Mulago Referral Hospital. So why? You have to take that extra step of understanding everything that is mentioned under. Then the second one, Council.
District council or municipal council.
Literally what we call the local government. Okay, the local government. In our final exam, they gave us what we call the best evaluated bidder notice. Only it was just the question paper had 1 page like this, but answering that paper, you had to write half of the question, the answer booklet. Imagine you had to get brief facts, everything from 1 page, but even that page only had a notice, but the notice had Carlo District Local Council, best evaluated bidder. They listed and gave reasons. They told you advice. That was the question. But the first question, identify the law where the notice emanates from. But for you to identify the law, you have to read from the act itself, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Act. You go to the regulations, you go to the 3rd, 4th, and actually the answer was in the 5th regulation, regulation 4 only. Imagine. But if you did not read the act, and Mr. Tom Mbalinda said that was the simplest paper of corporate and commerce. From that year, simple paper. And it was the head who resigned. That paper was too simple. An answer that could be seen. But imagine, we shall do it that paper on Thursday here. And you see. Okay. So let's go on. Another entity council.
Or the corporate. established under an act of parliament.
Okay, what those are what we call scheduled corporations. We see university in Uganda, all those entities that you know are a creature of a statute. They are called scheduled corporations. You see that the government has somewhere some control. Then another on council. And have entities where the government has shares. For example, we have Uganda Battery. Okay, we have Uganda Batteries. Those companies, the government has shares. Why? They will be receiving money from government. So automatically, because the government is a trustee of us, so the government is investing in this company in our favor. So as a result of that, this company is supposed to procure according to this law, regardless of the fact that it is a private entity. But a public entity has a say in it. Okay? Yes, then cancel the last one. That is the most complicated one. Yes. Now, let's go to section 2. Section 2. When you read section 2, okay, it gives you another cut. It's a private company, okay, but that private company is receiving money from a consolidated fund. We have entities where, for example, we have what we call the Tilang project, okay? The law firm that was basically dealing with that project of compulsory land acquisition, sensitization of the community, it was given to a particular law firm which had to recruit young lawyers from LDC during our year. But that law firm received the money from government. That law firm is a private entity. The money they received was, 1, to buy protective gears, okay, 2, to buy laptops for each and every person who was employed. So the mode of procurement, it was supposed to be under this act, regardless of the fact that this entity is a private entity. Okay. So for you, because you may read the act and say public procurement. So this means an entity should be a public. They give you facts when it is a private company, but receive money from the consolidated fund automatically. Let's read now section 2. Okay. You first read subsection 1. It's all. Okay. That is the first rule. Okay. So you see, the first category of entities that are governed by that act are public companies, okay, of which we've seen them under section 3 when we are defining an entity. Then another category of entity that is governed by that act. If it is, even if it's a private company and it receives money from a consolidated fund or an extended budget. We all know COVID, not so? So we have a company known as Amponya Group of Companies. Okay. What happened? These guys it's a private company. The budget for buying posho beans and sugar and whatever was passed as a supplementary budget in parliament. And after that, this entity was given the opportunity to do the procurement. But the question is, Did that entity follow the right procedure? Why was the bid cancelled at the given point of time? We shall see the principles of procurement were not followed. Okay, remember how that saga came up? They say we didn't hear any advert, but the law talks about advertising. Okay, we didn't talk up. They didn't talk about pre-qualification bids. Nothing. They just woke up one morning and said, Amponye is going to procure. But what they procured, were they fit for purpose? Did we see value for money? I don't. Okay, we are just using those examples for academic purposes. We proceed. So we've seen who does the procurement. Any question around that area? Any question before we go to the next question? So when you are reading the facts on procurement, before you come to the conclusion that is procurement, what if you say private company when it didn't receive money from a consolidated fund? You have to go for sale of goods before you go for procurement. You may see when it requires procurement, you go for sale of goods. But why? You didn't tell whether money came from a consolidated fund. Okay? So whenever you are reading such facts, always draw an inference to the answer. Our next question. What do we procure? Not so? Are we together? What do we procure? Okay. Let's go back to section 3 that defines procurement at the extreme end. Okay. At the extreme end of section 3, that defines procurement. Okay. That defines procurement at the extreme end. Anita, are you there? Okay. Yes, it's your time to shine. Okay. Section 3 at the extreme end. That defines procurement at the extreme end. It mentions what we procure. Procurement of. You've seen it. Have you seen what we procure? You read that section up to the end. That defines procurement. You will start the end. Procurement of services and works, supplies. Okay. And then Paula, because after understanding that, it is going to send you to other regulations. And if you don't understand how we moved from the act to the regulations, procurement. Okay? We are going to cross from the act to some regulations, but I want you guys, when you are following, okay? Are we together? Okay? Let's read. Council must read. Yes. See, first stop there. The first one is so that means we broke there. Then you go to section 3 where you see works. Are we there? Okay. What amounts to sorry, what amounts to works? Members, are we following? This act is the simplest and the hardest. If you give it your time, it's the simplest act compared to the company's act. Okay? Because its English is very simple, but it is so detailed. Okay? So we've seen from your services, okay, it is etc. But whatever we mention, we have to understand what it is. Okay, so we are now trying to understand what amounts to works. We are under the same section. Okay, under section 3 still. So how council proceed? Works. That definition is too long, but what I want you to get from there, it includes construction. Now, every year when you guys are going for orals, they start a construction site at LBC, not by mistake. Never, not by mistake. You see that site that's taking place there, 70%. Those who appear before Council Wambuga, ajja kukwata ku mukono akufulumye agambe council, look at that building. When have you seen it? You say yes. You go back. They tell you submit. Tajja kukugamba. Why? Ask yourself. We go back? Okay. What is procurement? Okay. Acquisition. So who does procurement? A public. Is LDC a public entity? You teach. What is taking place? What are they procuring? Works. Which type of works? Construction. Kati akugambe, how can the director ensure that that building stands the test of time? I saw that in your workshop. Okay. How? Those guys need supervision. Supervision is a service. We shall get there. Okay. After supervision, you need an approved plan. Not so. Who does the approved plan? An architecture. Not so. Are those services or you mark? You see how they answer it? By hiring services or you mark. If not, you're building a coposta. The engineering company, the architecture, the supervisor. Ojitaka obunako ngoyingira LPC words. The day they take you to that signpost and they bring you back here, it's the day you'll get to understand that you have to do every post an LDC. You see these cleaners, it's a question. They will sit there, they sit up there, they just bring out this, they just cancel. Look through the window. You see those guys, they are not working. What's wrong? Proceed. We shall get to all those, how we deal with them. Okay. So now, okay, from our section, okay, let's go on. Let's get back. Okay, from our question, we've seen that construction, okay, that works include construction. That's one. When you proceed with that definition, it tells you excavation. Okay, then it gives you renovation, demolition. Okay, so it has a lot, but the key things that are common that always take place at LBC, we have renovation, construction, excavation, and demolition. So whenever you see a question dealing with procurement work, but now, after you understanding that you are dealing with procurement of works, open that act. It has rules known as the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets for Works. So whatever concerning procurement of works, it has a specific law. Okay, for works and non-consultancy, hey, don't rush. Okay, you just open at the top here. Mpola. Okay, this question is so confusing, but very easy. It is non-consultancy. It's here. Procurement, this is consultancy. Methods and procurement supplies and consultancy services. Procuring and disposing regulations. We have the one for works. I'm not seeing it. Who has seen the one for works? Okay, for works. For some, yes, it is called the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Rules and Methods. Okay, for procurement of non-consultancy and works. Is there? Have you seen it? Yes? Yeah, but it depends. Okay. Some people have it on number 6, others on number what, I don't know. Depends where you bought your thing. Okay. So, are we together with the first category of what we procure? So now, when we go back to our section 3, okay, that defines procurement. After works, it talks about services. So that means the second thing that we deal with are services. Are we together? Are we following, colleagues? The second thing we procure are services. So the question is, what are the services? Okay. Hajat, salam alaikum. Section 3 defines services. Kindly share. And section 3, just look where there is letter S. You will see services around there. Okay. You will see services. You see the word incidental. The question I was giving you, that's what they call things that you can't tell me that you can run a site without a supervisor. So it is incidental to consultancy. We deal with only 2 types of services. We have what we call consultancy and non-consultancy. Okay. So when it comes to how to stand a test of time by acquiring what we call consultancy services. Okay. So ask yourself, what amounts to consultancy services? Okay. Again, our section 3. Cancel. Give us the definition in section 3. It defines consultancy services, services of a skilled nature. Even if you stop there, we've understood. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yeah, but it has an amendment by Yongeramu services. Okay. So when you look at the amendment, but the gist what we should appreciate that consultancy services, these are services of intellectuals. Okay. You should be a qualified practitioner to give that service. That's why when you go out tomorrow in the morning, when you're coming, look at that sign post near the mango tree. Okay, read it. Identify what consultancy services are there and non-consultants. Okay, you'll enter in orals. They ask you about that signpost. Nenga bulijjo oyimira nga bagadde gate. Naye gyesigama no gyesigama. Joke with the backwards. This term, whatever you see, try to understand why it is coming on board. They are going to put out all these chairs out there very soon. They may even have started with the reasons. Okay, they will be testing disposal. Okay, last year they sent them to leader. It was a question in orals. They saw these guys putting them out. The lorry came, they packed. When these guys are seeing like this, now in orals, they told them, you saw what happened over the weekend in your last class? Yes. All the seats were sent to Lira campus. Proceed. Why do you think that happened? It is a mode of disposal. Okay? Where it is sent to another entity. The answer money, now yeah, the devil is a liar. Okay? We proceed. Okay? So now, after looking at consultancy services, also consultancy services, they have regulations that govern them. Hope you've seen them. Okay? Every regulation that is there, okay? Have you seen the public procurement and disposal of public assets? Procurement of consultancy services regulations of 2014. So whenever you read the question and realize that the procurement was of a service, but a consultancy service, you proceed under those rules. You don't go to any other rule. Are we together? Yes? Yes? Now, to be honest, go well about it. Lawyers, they can't include you. Move them and move it. Okay? Okay? In the amendment, they excluded. Okay? So now, if not consultancy services, we go for non-consultancy. So read the definition of non-consultant services, Council. The act is just before you. So now, hope those who ready for the workshop, now you know that, okay, in our workshop, it is procurement of works or services, whatever the case may be. Now you can tell where the workshop is directing you. Okay? Because have you seen it? Just go to N, non-consultants. But it's the opposite. Okay? Non-consultancy services, these are services that do not require any skill. The cleaners. Yes? That is disposal, Council. We are sitting with, I was just giving an example that whatever you see at try to understand and an exam at a particular point. So after the course unit, they decided to dispose of those seats by sending them to another entity. Yet when you read the act, it is a mode of disposal. So these guys, what happened? Hey, they're just looking on. Okay? So, okay? So are we together? Now, when you get into orals, okay, those cleaners, the askaris, they are non-consultancy services. That they'll put those cleaners everywhere. Everywhere. You'll see them. Basibawa. And even the increase in number. If today you survive, the following day you may not survive. So depending how luck hits you right. Okay? So, but those cleaners and the askaris, those guys who wash cars there, they are non-consultancy services. Okay? So, if you are dealing with non-consultancy services, we have the rules that we saw of works, because some works go with non-consultancy services. This building, imagine if they don't clean it, it can't stand the test of time, whether you like it or not. Okay? So, non-consultancy services, they always move hand in hand. Then, after that, what else do we procure supplies. Okay, supplies. Does the act define supplies? What amounts to supplies? This question is very simple. Okay. Council, don't keep the act. Okay. Council, you read for us. What amounts to supplies? Okay. So when you get the question, first ask yourself, what am I procuring? You will proceed under wrong. You will never deal from that page. At the back was never. Council Rebecca, where is your act? Supplies. Okay. Yes.
Raw materials, products, equipment,
Mhm.
livestock.
Now, someone was asking Oros. They told this guy that unfortunately, this guy was from the guild. They asked this guy, these people who is always popular everywhere in the guild. Yeah, I was like, now, Council, you're from the guild. Assume we are organizing a sports gala, and the director wants to buy a bull. Proceed.
What's that?
Okay, wants to buy one like this, one like this. Not knowing that a bull falls under it's livestock, it falls under supply. Okay. Okay. It falls under supply. Supply is people raw materials, what and what. The difference is wide. Okay. So now, but unfortunately, this law, because they want to protect the public, they only consider one type of supplies, what we call medical supplies. And they have their regulations known as the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Medical Supplies Regulations. I think you've come across it as well. So now, after understanding what we procure, okay, what was our next question? Yes? What should be followed? So now when an entity is going to be followed, okay, there are things that should be followed. Okay, these are known as principles of procurement. So each procurement entity, when they are going to procure, should put this into consideration, whether you like it or not. If you don't put that into consideration, is a ground of appeal against the decision. These are things that happened. We've been seeing them, but when we are not learned, we just hear stories on news, we make noise, okay? We see Kosase very busy, squeezing people, but why are they being squeezed? Because they didn't follow funds. How did they utilize the parliamentary? Are we together? So now, what principles should the procurement entity follow when it is procuring what we've seen? Let's go to section 43 now. Principles of procurement. This question is simple. Procurement. Section 43. I'm going to be using certain examples that we saw, some we had, but for academic purposes. Okay, it may offend anyone, but I'm using them for academic purposes so that we can ably appreciate these principles. Okay, I'm not against any entity, any political party whatsoever. I'm a free Ugandan. Okay. Yeah. I support the government in its entirety without fear or favor. Let's proceed. So now, when you read section 43, it lists all the principles. Okay. But after, when you look at section 44, 45, 46, 47 of those principles. Okay. So I am not going to go through each and every section, but I'm going to be explaining each and every principle so that you'll be able to tell that, okay, during this scenario, this was not followed. That's why this happened, and this was the end result. Okay, so under section 43, what is the first principle to be followed? Non-discrimination. Article 21 of the 1995 Constitution is to the effect that all persons are equal before the law. So whenever an opportunity comes up, it should be grabbed by all Ugandans. Okay? However, we have circumstances where people complain that for us, we didn't know about that. We just saw someone coming out and doing something. Okay? Some people, when they apply, the grounds of their disqualification sometimes may be political, sometimes may be. Now, of recent, we had a saga, okay, where one of the officials of the Uganda Airlines, okay, was appointed and given that salary that I don't know, okay. But when she was placed before the parliamentary committee, she was questioned how she got there with her grades. She said, I also don't. That's what I heard, but I don't know. Okay, I also just watched news and her interview as well. Okay, why? Okay, how many people could apply for that job? So competent than even how you think. Okay, what happened to their application? Okay, we have entities where even the recent one that is ongoing, but probably it has become salient. I'm not offending, but I'm just using this for academic purposes. People have been complaining that people from the West are the only ones employed at the airport. Okay, that's what has been going on social. So people are complaining that some entities don't employ according to the qualifications, but they employ according to the status and who has referred you. So where such entities are procuring services of persons to work therein, they are supposed to follow the first principle. So where you feel that you are aggrieved that the way the interviews were conducted had that element of discrimination, you go and complain for administrative review. In our year, there is what we call the notice of best evaluated bidder. That notice should include the reason for your disqualification. So they gave us reasons. One, that one of the companies that applied to supply printer to the local government was disqualified for the following reasons. The directors were not residents of Kalo. Okay. Then two, One of the directors was a strong supporter of National Unit Platform. Okay. Then 3, that it had a lot of money, more than the district council. But so you having a lot of money, does it stop you from bidding? So the grounds are just discriminating them for reasons that are not called for. So the discrimination was on the political will and residence. Okay? And money. Okay? So that's the first principle. Then the second principle under that, transparency. Okay? Now in oros, when you look at that, zirimu ssatu. So omenya ejeji wali obwongo buba tebukola onoonya kuyitawo. Okay, that sections give you 1, but when they are, you break, you say transparency, that is 1. Accountability, those are 2. Fairness, wali esawa eba nsiku. Okay, so let's start with transparency. Okay, the reason why, when you go to the cycle has what we call advertisement. Okay, all opportunities are supposed to be advertised. I want you to tell me whether you had the office of the Prime Minister in 2019 advertising the bid of procuring portioned beans for Ugandans. I want you to tell me, did you hear about that advert? Okay, so was that transparency? Okay, but now Nyamore's defense counsel, okay, I had a defense for the office of the Prime Minister. We have what we call the list of pre-qualified. That list, just that Ugandans, we don't know. We fear to take opportunities. Each and every financial year, all the ministries, you should put in bids. If you know that this ministry deals with, we have the Ministry of Labor and Gender. You know that, okay, this ministry will procure this at a given point. Put in your bid, OCDK. LDC will do procurement. Put in OCDK. Why? They will sit and do that process, okay? And they start evaluating. So they'll keep their list. So in case they don't advertise, they choose from that list. So they will say, we already had people pre-qualified. There were many, okay? So we just chose 1 because of time. We didn't have time to advertise. We didn't have money. Because so to them advert. So we could defend, okay? Simple as that. Okay? But I don't know how it was defended. We proceed. Then another principle from the 3, accountability. Okay? Accountability. You know how government entities pay? They pay in what we call, the mode of payment is called the phase payment. Okay? The reason why you first declare, one of the things they consider in bidding, you should have a certificate known as from your banker. Okay? How do we call that certificate? You're going to do it in banking. What we call guarantorship, a certificate of guarantorship. So your banker has to guarantee the government that Rashid has that money. In case he goes out of money, we shall fund him until the project is. So what they do, you have to first have that starting capital. You first give them, after consuming the first phase, they pay you. So you keep the profits and give them the second phase. So you first bring accountability that you serve the government to its satisfaction. Okay. Second, when you look at the Chogam, okay, in Chogam, we had a company for We had a company that dealt in decoration. That company that belonged to a particular individual. I don't report. Okay? This company was contracted to decorate from Entebbe International Airport up Kampala. Okay? So what happened? They gave them money all at once. So now, a few days to the function, they had stopped before you reach Chibuye. They made a quotation. That's why in the methods of procurement you have the quotation method. But to gamble omulimu ogenda kukola sente kwezi tuzikuwe. That's what happened. But that's why that person had a relative who had another way during this week. They decorated. Never is out. Okay, but after they sued each other for violating the rules of procurement. Okay, why? They reached the time of sharing the money. That is accountability was low. Okay, because these guys were in a hurry. They wanted to provide the service, so they didn't account for the money rightly. And in procurement, you have to be accountable. That's why you have COSASE. Whatever money they give you at the end of the day, that was COSASE. Okay? That Twitter, Bomukuru Akocha, the report Yevula, Gende Mas. We are just for academic purposes. Okay? Yes. We proceed. Another principle, fairness. Okay? Do you know why we have fairness and how it operates? If we disqualify you, we should give you reasons why you are disqualified, so that at the end of the day, you go back. But you know what? How it hurts. Someone you say, don't call it. They're gonna put in a reason. Okay? Yes. Okay, so that it is fair. You tell someone that you didn't qualify because of this, and so that in the next bid, this person works on that thing. Okay, but these entities, they don't have that time. They just give out the list of best evaluated bidders. What I say, try your luck next year. Okay. Then another principle. Yes. Competition. How it's called maximum competition. That's why we do advertisement and we open bids to have it. Okay. Now, if you look at the quotation method, a remove competition. So what happens? For example, when they say that LDC is going to construct that building, okay, they will advertise. They include the amount of money they want. So you know very well which below. What I do, ask myself, which Aisha? I'm going to send out take a beat. Maybe later, Mulia sent us that the quotation here. Gongo soko kuya bomusenyu gw'omulwera ngenda kuwala sinotulaka 10 ne buli sinotulaka njagala ogisiremu emitwalo emeka 5 ate zonna nzikuwalumu n'obala ekibalo kyo n'olabanga the list aliyo n'omusinzaako emitwalo aga nokka competition. Now obviously bagenda okukula siraamu ajja tukolera akabeeyi ke kali luddawa wansi ate yali akozeeko. You see that competition? That's what happens in these entities. So you can't compete with who has someone, but that's not how it's supposed to be done. The right thing is advertise. You call us, we present our quotations, or we compete. Okay, so that you get this procurement on merit, so that when you are given an opportunity, you work knowing that you gained the opportunity on merit. Okay, another principle, confidentiality. Okay, we have regulations known as the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Evaluation Regulations. You should advertise. Everyone brings the bid, they defend, just make a call. Uganda, we shall hammer you. This government, this Chisandi, hey, Sandi hakuna mchezo. No corruption. Okay? We don't allow corruption. Okay? So now we are talking about now the second one after that, okay, which is confidentiality. The rule of, when you read the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Evaluation Rules, we shall get there. Okay, in those rules, the Evaluations Committee and the Contracts Committee, they have to open these bids. Okay, these bids when they are sealed. You take your envelope, sealed. The devil opened it by osmosis. That means some information in that bid was given to someone. So there is no confidentiality. And as a result of that, when you look at these procurement entities, the Evaluations Committee and the Contracts Committee are not permanent. Tosobola kumanya who is going to be there unless it is Uganda, where you can know. Then another principle, that's what we call economy and efficiency. Yes. 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 No, okay. See, like this, we use different examples. When you are going for administrative, you first write the procurement proceedings. If you don't write, they don't give you, they don't have the right. That's what they are referring to. Okay, because you can't go in court without evidence. That's why. So if you don't write, they don't disclose. You first write and make an application. Okay. It is okay. The second part explains it. Yes. Okay. I'm together. Now, another principle. Economy and efficiency. During 2021, I'm explaining economy and efficiency. During 2021, okay? During 2021, but the first problem we had as a country, our economy was bad. Okay, was bad. So now underline the word economy. Okay, efficiency. Does someone have the capacity to do this work efficiently? Okay, so we have an entity of government here. It is known as Uganda. It is an entity of publishing all the by our government. Okay, so 21 January. Office of the which at a method known as international restricted bidding. Okay, they contacted two companies. One was from South Africa, another from what country? Okay, to be honest, those companies were expensive. That's the negative truth. Okay, so this entity sued the Procurement Authority and the Office of the Prime Minister that they are violating the rules of procurement. That one, they have sufficient labor and equipment to print out papers to the entire nation. Second, economy of the country doesn't at any time allow such things to take place. We have to reinvest in the economy. So why should they take that money outside the country? Imagine the judge was in that case, and imagine the decision. Okay. So now you know how the decision came out, because you know the country that printed about papers. So was that really following the principles of procurement? At the time, for sure, we were broke, because even some part of that money was just borrowed. It was a supplementary budget, and you take it outside, you can reach those guys, and at the end of the day, cap and pay taxes. Okay, but again, I'm always counsel for the devil, the devil's advocate. I had a defense. My government of intentions. Yeah. What do you expect? Shia, olaba akatonda n'akakuba olwo bakakubire wano olaba ebibuuzo byero disi bakiprintinga ssaawa 9 n'eddakiika 14 ez'ekiro nga bukya naye ne wavaawo akifuna ku 10. Imagine. How about papers? Yeah, impossible. Okay. How about papers? We print them from here. When NASA is just near there. Imagine. Look at the distance. Okay, from the Kampala branch of this entity to NASA. Oh. The government was right. Now I support the government. Then the last principle is known as ethics. Okay? Why? We know that is corruption ethical? So when we are doing procurement, yes, you may have entity, whatever the case may be, but it is unethical for you to call your relative, okay, to allow you access information so that you can win the bid. It is unethical for you to tell your colleague, let me meet the CEO, we take some tea. You enter into a memorandum of understanding with the CEO that if I win this bid, we shall share the proceeds. It is unethical. So where anything of that nature takes place, we shall sue the entity. That the principles of procurement were not. How do you know what do you follow? Okay? What is our next question? So, but that's the life of being academicians, okay? Whatever you see around you, you should learn from it. From the very examples and more weights, okay? On the principle, see and then express. Which company collects news? that company. Actually, there is a principle in this. It's called value for money. I've not had it. It's under economy. Okay. So, okay. Yes. Okay. It's there. Value for money. Now let me tell you. Let me start from the Amponye saga. To be honest, you for so beans. Okay. Osobola okukwata sente z'okulaba ebijanja in the first place. So those guys value our money. Let us be honest. How can they give breastfeeding mothers expired milk? And the speaker was on the floor of parliament citing himself with authorities. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Imagine. Was that value for money? Hey. Now, also the principle of competition. When you look at the Telexpress saga, when that company put in its bid, it raised a lot of dust. You know why? That company was being sued that it is under liquidation. So that clearly implies that it was not efficient under the principle of efficiency. Okay. However, from nowhere, I saw a letter circulating on social media saying from the executive. Had a very long signature. It starts with this and this and okay, okay. And they said, don't look any further. Chigadi. What? To be honest, was there a competition? We have companies here that collect those dues. We have Metroplex, not so. You mean it couldn't collect that money? So, okay. Are we together? Okay. I was giving an example on competition, saying that when you look at the issue of Telex Express, the company that is collecting those dues is a foreign company. That company was facing a petition to be declared. When a company is under what we call insolvency situations, it is a company in terina. Okay? Kati gwe n'osalawo ogiwa omulimu. Okay? By the time they put in a petition, that company should not contract, but it contracted in Uganda. Okay? And we saw a letter saying, stop, don't look for any other company. So, was there a competition, to be honest? Okay? So, that was a violation. So, they had to put a question mark on the Ministry of Roads and Transport, but I don't know. I think Kosase was sleeping that time round. Shall ask the big man, inshallah. Okay? So now, we've known what we follow in procurement. Yes, those are the principles. Now note, when topic, which is administrative process. Our next question. So now, at times, we can use that, or we can say, who are the stakeholders in procurement? Who are the stakeholders? People where the entities where procurement rotates. Who are, you can say, who supervises, or who are the up the last one. Okay, who are the stakeholders? These stakeholders ensure that procurement is followed in the right way. But understand, this is going to be a bit confusing. You know why? I'm going to give you the cycle under that. For certain reasons, you will appreciate at the end. Okay? So, in everything, who does the general supervision? The first stakeholder, okay, is known as the authority. Okay? The first, at the top, we have the authority. Okay? Council Vincent. get to the act and define for us the authority. Yes, section 3. Okay. So when you look at section 3 defines authority to mean the authority established under section. So and it's called the procurement authority. This authority does the general supervision of procurement in Uganda. Okay. This week you might have a public lecture on procurement. Okay. I don't know whether it's on your timetable or not. They want to first say how you guys are going to appreciate. If you don't understand procurement, they're going to bring the chairperson of that authority here. Naye ma'am, olemwa ava ayogera practice, which is not the law. So, okay, because the way practice is done, it's a bit unique, eh? But they may give you public lecture. So they just bring the chairperson of the authority to teach you how procurement is done. That's how far they can go. Okay, they will bring, I know, they will communicate. Okay, so when you look at section 5, it says there shall be established the authority which shall be a body corporate with capacity to sue and to be sued. Okay. Are we together? Okay. So functions of the authority are just clear in the act. Okay. We shall read them, not so. Okay. They're under which section? The functions. Section 7. Not so. So you look at section 7. So you'll be able to tell. Okay. It's okay. I'll find means of fixing it. Okay. But the key things you should note in the functions. 1, issuance of standard bidding forms. You take emphasis. Procedure. Okay. Then 2, issuance of standard procurement forms or bidding documents. Functions of the authority under section 7. Put an emphasis on that for reasons we shall see later. Okay. Issuance of standard bidding documents. Okay. This is why I've highlighted that we are going to rely on it at the later stage. Okay. So now we go on. After the authority, we have another key entity. Okay. But the reason why I couldn't break it at that point, we are still fresh. But now here we know what we are doing. I can go. Okay. The authority. The next is a procurement entity, of which you Jimani now, not so. But we have what we call components of a procurement entity. Things that make up a procurement entity. Okay. So from the components of a procurement entity, you should be able to understand the procurement cycle, whether you like it or not. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to be giving you the components of a procurement entity, but in form of a procurement cycle. I know you people have already bought the procurement charts, okay, with men sitting, talking, but I know you've looked at that cycle. You can't. I'm very sure. Olaba kasajja katudde kali kakutte kagenze waliwo akali mu katale nawe weebuuza naye Okay, but that cycle, it needs that touch of the law for you to understand it. So that's what I want to do now. Okay, are you together? I know lagi nakagula. Nakagula kwa baki. Nasanga gaya akaguze ningabara akajitegeti. Nenyende watoni nakampa nakasulako naye nga sina wenkalaba mu act. Nengamba naye mpasi ngenda kuba budo nga psyche eganyi nenkakasa nti ekoze eki eganyi nenkesonyiwa mutima mulungi paka lwe nayiye engeri gye bakakwatamu kali genda okulaba nsobola okayinterpretinga okay kuba kalina bu aro kano ne kajja wano ate kano ne kadde eno ne kakkirira wano tewali waaka. Okay, but let us get on board. Okay, so the very first component that is mine. Okay, kuba kasta workshop ene fuluma kebasooka okuba kyokka tebakugamba nti togenda kategori kansono kano wandika tutte ka mugaso okay, naye nga mazima kakakugasa ki wakakagulira. Okay, so let's get to understand why it is like that. Okay, the first component of a procurement entity, okay, the first component of a procurement entity, okay, is a user department. I'm going to be using examples of LDC here, okay, so that you guys understand it. What amounts to user department? That's section 3. Aisha, is your act? Where is your act? Okay, Councillor Daniel, take us to what amounts to a user department. Okay. Section 3 is going to send you to certain section.
It means
Yes, let's all follow. Okay. Yes, Council.
it's in a department,
Yes.
division, branch,
Yes.
or section of the procuring and disposing entity, including any project unit working under the authority of the procuring and disposing entity, which initiates procurement and disposal.
Then if we stop there, okay, it says a user department is a unit or a sector in an entity which initiates procurement. So the first step in the procurement cycle is initiation. The first step in the procurement cycle is initiation of procurement, which is done by the user department. Okay, the first step on the cycle, okay, it is, okay, it is initiation. It is done by which entity? The user department. Now, let me use LDC. Okay, every year the number of students change, not so? Students are the user department. Okay, once the numbers increase, the numbers will demand new furniture always. So that means LDC has to go and purchase furniture. But why? Because the user department has initiated that tutulewa. Okay, you see. But if you, the user department, you don't show the need that something is needed, it will not go on. Okay, so who heads the user department here? The guild president. So you go through the guild president, you complain to what we call students affairs. Okay, because that's where all your issues should go. So that means you have initiated procurement as the first step in our cycle. How to listen now? Are we together at that point? Okay. We've said we are looking at components of the procurement entity at the same time, the procurement cycle. Okay. So now, at that point, we've said the first component is a user. We've read section 3 and says a user department is a unit in an entity which initiates procurement. So that means everything in procurement starts with initiation, which is done by that. Clear now. So then the second component of the procurement entity is known as the accounting officer. Okay. Council, take us the definition of accounting officer. Council is here reading. Okay. Accounting officer. Where is it? Okay.
Accounting officer
Yes.
means an accounting officer appointed as such by the secretary to the treasurer.
Now, the director of LDC is just appointed by the state treasurer, because the LDC is the accounting officer. Okay. The duty of the accounting officer is to oversee the procurement of an entity. Are we together? Okay. Are we together? Which section talks about accounting officer?
That is section 3.
Okay. That's the definition. But after that, you go to section 26. You're going to see functions of accounting officer. Okay. Functions of the accounting officer. 26. So there is what we call confirming of availability of funds. Have you seen it? F. Let's look at F. Have you seen it? Okay. So now, when you guys need seats, okay, the head students affairs will ask the president, like, how many seats should we procure? So that now when I go to the director, I'm able to tell how much we should. You get it? Okay. You give an estimate of how much we are going to use. We have people in the guild cabinet here. You guys organized, have you organized the sports gala yet?
No.
Not yet. It's this time. Okay. It's this time. When you guys are approaching Oros, you'll eat your bull. Okay. You take your wine and everything, music. Okay. Okay. Yes. They give that moment. Okay. It's called the sports gala. So they are going to ask the guild to prepare a budget of how much they are going to use. They present it to the head student affairs. So the head students affairs will take the budget to the accounting officer to do what we call confirmation of. But before, okay, before you go to the accounting office, you should be sure of how much you need. So let me have that chart. Okay. When you look at this chart, okay. Okay. When you look at this chart, you see where it starts from. User department. Okay. It starts from the user. So now the user department, they are sitting to ask themselves, what do we need? Okay. After this arrow is sending you to the procurement and disposal unit. Okay. But we've not yet highlighted it for certain reasons. But after the procurement unit, the user department has come up with its budget. Before they go to the accounting officer, they should go in the market to ascertain the prices of what they want, so that they come up with a standard budget, which has standard prices. Then after, they will forward it to who? The accounting officer. Are you together? To do what? To confirm a viability of funds. Are you together? So now, okay, Paula, okay, are you together? Okay, so now, when you look at one of the duties of the accounting officer under that act, the accounting officer appoints the procurement and disposal unit. Not so. When you look at that section 27, 26, okay. So once, remember, the procurement and disposal unit works under supervision of the accounting officer. So once the first step is initiation, okay, of procurement, then the second step under initiation, mwemuli looking for the price, okay. But this looking of the price, user department ani agiyambako, the procurement and disposal unit, because we not tambula nabo, okay. You'll see here during that time, you'll see how it will happen, okay. But after that, we send our budget to the accounting officer. So that means the second step is confirmation of a viability of funds from the accounting officer. Nti bye mwagala okugula aba user department, akasente weekali kazze. Okay? Are we together? Okay? Twakaba gundi meka. Okay. The next cycle after it is the procurement and disposal unit. The procurement and disposal unit. The procurement and disposal unit. Not entity, it is unit. The third component is the procurement and disposal unit. The law defines that. Let's get to section 3. It defines the procurement and disposal unit. Okay? Where I read a definition of procurement, you just go a few paragraphs, you'll be able to see it. Okay? Section 3. Have we seen it? Uh-huh. Who is reading?
Procurement and disposal unit means the division in each procuring and disposing entity responsible for the execution of the procurement.
So you underline its duty. The procuring and disposing unit is responsible for execution. So you ask yourself, how does it execute? Okay? I think that unit is under section 28 or 29. Let's go to those sections as well. Let's go to section 31. Okay? It gives you the functions of this. Okay? When I go back, you tell me. Huh? Are we still together? I knew. Huh? Are we tired? Huh? We get a commercial break. Okay, let's do like this. Okay, let's do like this. Okay, let's go. Okay, so we've seen one. We've seen you have a user department which initiates. We've seen 2, the accounting officer who confirms availability of funds. Then after confirming availability of funds, okay, the next step, the mode of procurement. Why? Which unit does that? the procurement and disposal unit. Why? Its major purpose is to execute procurement. So under that, it has to choose according to the money, okay, we have, okay, according to the amount of things we need, according to the urgency, it has to sit and choose the appropriate method. Are we together? Okay, it has to choose the appropriate method. Are we together? Okay, so that means the next step in our cycle is choosing the most appropriate method of procurement. Yes. We say that things under initiation, mulina okumanya price. Osobola okugenda mu katale ogula ekintu kyotamanyi bbeeyi. Good. Okay. This procurement unit, yo ebeera mu buli unit ekolamu. Okitegedde? Because it's overloaded to execute. Kati buli alina kyalina okukola era ogenda labe wasinga nga the law talks about it. Okay. So now, when you look at section 31, okay, it talks about the procurement and disposal unit. And one of its functions is to choose the most appropriate method of, so that takes us to what we call methods of procurement. So this unit, what methods can it choose to use? Okay, are we together? So the first thing we use, okay, so this unit, the procurement and disposal unit, when it is selecting the method of procurement, it has factors it has to put into consideration. Okay, so that takes us to factors considered when coming up with the appropriate mode of procurement. I told you this is going to confuse you a little bit. Naye tusoma cycle na buli kimu ku procurement awo nga tovuddeyo. Okay?
Factors.
It's like this. Our first end, we are looking at what we call, our general topic known as stakeholders in procurement. We said under the stakeholders, the first one we had the authority. The second one we have the procurement entity. But when we zero down to the procurement entity, we had to look at things that make up a procurement entity. We said the first one is a user department. But we said as we are looking at the components, we should understand all other things, including the cycle and the methods of. When you with other methods, I have to break the methods for you. Okay, cycle. Looking at these components of the entity. The first entity was user department. We saw our first step as initiation. And we said under initiation, this is where a need arises that we need seats. But under that, you have to ascertain the market price so that you make a budget to present. And we said during that process of initiation, the procurement and disposal unit will help the user department to ascertain the price. After ascertaining the price, the user department will send to the accounting officer. Then that took us our second step in the cycle, as well as our second component in things that make up the procurement entity. So we said our next step is confirmation of availability of funds by the accounting officer. So after the accounting officer has confirmed that we have money, now we have to go and procure. So under the procurement entity, they have a department that deals with the procurement basically, which is known as the procurement and disposal unit, which is our third. Okay. Then after that, we say Section 3, the procurement and disposal unit, its ultimate duty is to execute procurement. How do they execute procurement? That the first one to choose the appropriate mode of that. Now that takes us to our fourth step, which is choosing the appropriate mode of procurement. But at that point, we have to understand the modes of procurement before we leave that. Togenda kufuna chances soma zibegera okujjako ng'osomeddewa awo. So then we've said that when this unit is choosing the appropriate mode or method of procurement, it has factors it puts into consideration. So I would take on here when we are looking at factors considered when choosing the appropriate mode of procurement. Are we together now? Fuller. Kind of, oh, hey, that is corporate. Imagine, or in a company, or in a sale of goods, maybe that is for one question. You always imagine. Or two guys to money again, who's up procurement over company, partnership, over sale of goods, of employment. No to Alamutwe, Wakubalula. Because the Yapsoma sale of goods procurement, goods. Over Wakahingira, what chance. Okay, but I'm not doing what we don't. Okay, so should we go to the factors? Now, I'm very sure in your workshop, minimum amount of money. Okay, emphasis. The first factor is amount of money. The first factor they consider. Okay, I want you to open that. We have what we call on that compendium. We have what we call a threshold. Threshold. That, okay, if it is procurement 100 million shillings to 1 billion, we use this method. Okay, it's a threshold. Okay. Let's first pause. I've said when we are choosing the method, we have factors we consider. The first factor is the amount of money for the procurement you're going to do. Remember that you're going to construct a building worth 5 billion. Because of money. Nga tosobola kuddira okoze direct method oba okoze okay micro. Why? That amount of money needs a particular procedure. Kuba ne government okuwa million 5. Construct the hospital's money. I don't know what happened. Why? That amount of money was just give someone and go. No, doesn't work like that. So some things, the amount of money is key. Now, homes that they work, you send the daughter to one, no woman away via KV. Okay, at the end of the street, to someone can do but you're more sweet bar some day. What you're going to deal with. So one of the factors they consider is the amount of money. So as a result of that, the framers of this law came up with what we call a threshold. That if you see the amount of money of procurement between this line, this is the method of procurement. Are we together? So in this act, that threshold is there. Okay? It's just one page. Let me try to press for it. Okay. Let's go to some have it as number 13. So when you look at tells works, okay, it gives the amount of money that if in works the amount of money is this. This is the method. Okay. So when the procurement and disposal unit is considering a method of procurement and they see the quotations you guys have, when it is beyond 5 billion, they know the method of procurement is according to this amount of money, we can't go for this. Okay. Are we together to that? Yes. Somehow. Yes. Okay. Yes. Now I'm going to give these factors, then we go through the methods as well. Okay. Threshold cancel. Okay. Just go to procurement guidelines behind. Okay. Behind that threshold is there. A threshold, when they say between this and this happens. Between this and this, okay, this happens. That's what called a threshold. It is like a gauge. Okay. Yes. Are we together? That is procurement. Okay. Hey. Katebereza abakola mu local government bazibya naye nezibala kila times bali mu kuba receipt ne babwerabira. Okay, we go on. Are we tired? Okay, I told you this second term I can push up to midnight. Okay, because that's what is required for second term. Okay. Yes. So after that factor, okay, you read the threshold and see how amount is so paramount in choosing the appropriate method. You've seen that in your facts, even before you look at the method, even before you think of anything, look at the money. They have given you facts with 500 million shillings, and you don't have that sense of why have they given you the amount of money. Okay, you spend the entire Saturday quarreling and arguing when the answer is there. I told you LDC, whatever they give you, an answer is there. So you argued on Saturday over the method, but your workshop has the amount and it has what you're going to procure, that it works, whatever the case may be. The threshold is very clear. So the method of procurement in your workshop is there in the threshold, but I don't know how you came across it. Okay, so look at your workshop. You have the amount of money and what you're going to procure. When you go to that threshold, the amount of money in your workshop, it has a particular range where it falls. So you go for that. Yes, the threshold. Go to the guidelines, procurement guidelines. You go to, okay, you say look for the procurement guidelines and 13. 16. Okay, 16, you go behind, you will see. Okay, so you see, you just come here. 8.0. Okay, so are we together? Then the second factor, you see, okay, the second factor apart from amount, is what you are procuring. What you are procuring. Are you procuring works? Are you procuring services or supplies? You see that threshold also. It is arranged in that line. Okay? It is arranged in that line. Okay? Simple as that. Then the third one you consider the quantity. The quantity. Okay? You can't tell me that you want to procure 2 jerrycans of liquid soap. You advertise. Okay? As well. Okay? Now, to be honest, you're going to procure things of 1 million. Running an advert in New Vision is how much? Welcoming beats. People have to take tea and eat our dinners from St. Home. 1 million is spent around there. So why don't you use direct method? Okay? There are liquid soap waliao katumugule tuchiveeko. Simple as that. The quantity, okay, of what you're procuring is also key. You'll see, we have micro, where something you're buying is very small, very small. You don't even just go micro. Simple as that. Okay. Then after the quantity, okay, after the quantity, then we have another factor known as, let's assume you bought a car, okay, and it needs spare parts. What term do we use? Supplements. Okay, if you are buying supplements to supplement on something, okay, why do you waste time? You have a Toyota car, okay, you bought it from Toyota. The spare parts that are needed supposed to come from where? So you want to advertise, you call others just on something small that you know that I'm supposed to get it from here. Okay, you're just wasting our money. Okay, factors. Supplements. If you're buying a to supplement on something that you already have a supplier where you bought from. Let's be honest. Okay. Okay. Another factor I've said is supplements. When you are buying something to supplement on something already existing, you know what you have where you bought it from. So why are you wasting our money to advertise? Go back where you bought that from. Simple. Okay. Then the last factor is the state or agency. Okay. Agency or the state in which the entity is stroke agency. We have what we call emergency situations. Okay. The section 3 defines emergency situations. Okay. Section 3 defines emergency situations. Someone with the act to read for us emergency situations. You go to E. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Okay, now we were in Oros. Remember, during our year, that is 2019, 2020. That's what we of people powerful of the opposition. Okay, during that era, rights were everywhere. So in Oros, just after a few days, we had one. Yeah, they gave. Okay, yeah, so now in Oros, someone was asked that council, assume you are General Kaihura. Okay, you receive a call from OC one day that tear gas is done and hooligans from the second market are coming, and you have a nearby shop. Proceed. Okay. Okay. Proceed. They are clever. These guys, they have their own. Okay. They have their own down there. Okay. So now these guys are coming. Are you going to first advertise? You see, Kenya, Baina Karachi, Twagarawa Yero, at that point, what do? You know a nearby shop that sells tear gas. Okay? You are General Kaihura. It is an emergency situation. Okay? You don't need to waste, you will explain later. Buy overway. Okay? So that was emergency. Okay. Freak is another one. You saw what happened in Imbali. Okay, when it rained one night like this, the entire district flooded. Okay, that's why we have the Ministry of Disaster. Okay, it is the emergency unit in the government. Whatever those guys, they don't go through the procurement cycle. Why? They work in exceptional circumstances. But however much they work in exceptional circumstances, they should put the principles of procurement into consideration. Okay? I'm bringing another example. When our Prime Minister had just assumed office, a disaster happened in Kasese. Okay? And houses were taken. That very ministry I've just talked about of disaster and unpreparedness, it made what we call direct procurement of blankets. Okay? So the Prime Minister got this, she said, hey, value for, is this money for the citizen? Why? Yes, regardless of the fact that it was an emergency, the factors, the principles of procurement had to be put into consideration. You can't just buy a blanket of 2K when we gave you 10,000. About now. You see? So why? They didn't follow the principles of Bagogwa. They and then. Okay? Why? Regardless of these factors, the principle still stands. Okay? Joke with this government. Two rivers. Okay? Are we together? So now, after looking at those factors, now ask yourself, what methods of procurement will this unit choose? Okay? So that takes us now what we call methods of procurement. Okay? Now, when you reach that point of choosing a method of procurement, we have the Principal Act, okay, and regulations known as the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets, Rules and Methods of war. I knew. Okay? This course unit is simple but so tricky. Okay? When you are going to choose the methods of procurement, okay, they are under the Principal Act and certain regulations. When you look at your regulations, we have what we call rules and methods of procurement. Some people are 12. Okay, it is Act number 12 on some people's acts. Okay, are we together? All regulations shall be read, whether I like it. Okay. Others have on number 4. Okay, so now, what methods? Okay, because I'm pretty sure people are tired, but just hold on a bit. Okay, let's just outline these methods. Okay, and we call it a day. Let's just outline them. Okay. Yes. They are both. No, we are still under the cycle of procurement at the same time. Okay. On the cycle, we are on a stage of choosing the method of procurement. On the components, we are on component number 3. Okay. So maybe they are there at the same time. That is the purpose. Okay. You have to be multitask. Okay. And then when you collapse in orals, they take you to the clinic, they give you medication, they bring you back to the pan. Simple. Yeah. They don't let you go. Even if you lose your parents, you can't. Me, my family mate who was following me on the pan of civil lost the mother in the morning. The guy came crying. I entered, I explained to Council Mayanja. Namugamba, the only option I have, you be the first. Nasookayo, ne bamwokya, namugamba again. Nana LDC tebafiirwa, tebawasa, teziika. That's the rule here. Okay? We go on, okay? We go on. So the methods, the first method is we have what we call international restricted bidding. The international restricted bidding, it is only and only restricted to international entities. Wano mulimu, I'm using this example for academic purposes. We have procurement here. What international company it is restricted. Okay. Who has ever seen, you see all the roads you construct, the highways, we have a company. Tosobola kusangayo ndala. Why? Okay. No, that money comes with a condition. It's a conditional grant. The condition is this company should work. Okay, that's why it is a restricted mode. China was a state. So it is automatic. They have reasons. They can defend this act. Okay. Then another method is known as international open bidding. This one is open to all international and local entities. Now we take a. Okay. Okay. International open bidding. And this one is open. We shall read the law tomorrow. Okay. It is open to all entities. Okay. It is open. You don't restrict to only one. You advertise, never to give it. Sometimes there is a okay. Then the third one is known as domestic restricted bidding, commonly known as UBU. Okay. The third one is domestic restricted bidding, currently known as UBU by Uganda. That was my question for us. They told me that Rashid, you've just completed LDC. As you know that the office of the Prime Minister is up and down. You've given an assignment to write a detailed memorandum to the Prime Minister on the following facts. Okay, later. So, said that the office of Prime Minister has been paying tuition for 8 students at Makerere University, the course of civil engineering and road construction. They are done and they have graduated. However, they have tried to transfer jobs and they have failed. They wrote applications to the office of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is puzzled, has received a sum of money to construct Tirinyi Road. Okay, to construct Tirinyi Road. However, the Prime Minister is the founder of Google. Advice Simon Morocco. When I heard the word construction, I first asked myself, the office of the Prime Minister is a ministry. So that means it's a procurement entity. Now I go to the question is on procurement. Then I asked myself, what are they going to procure? The question was construction of Tirinyi. I knew that it is works. Okay. Then I said, now, okay, the user department, that is Tirinyi district, they have already initiated. Now the ball is in the hands of the procurement unit to choose the method. Then I ask myself which is the appropriate method. I zeroed down to 2 because I knew construction of a road, they pay in kilometers. String road is too long. That means the amount exceeds 500 million shillings. And I said, now, oba okirowooza, because once you start speaking, they press the timer. What you see, keep on saying pardon, pardon when you are contemplating the question. Yes, they tell them pardon so that you think when they are, they give you 0. Okay? It is okay. You want only 2, use the 2. And then they will give you only 2. So you just show them that you've not understood the question. They keep on repeating, yeah? So that time doesn't count. Okay? So they don't allow. So me, when I kept on thinking, so what made me to think that it is domestic restricted? Okay, let's build Uganda, build, buy Uganda, build. Once we build Uganda, which principle of procurement are we dealing with? Efficiency. These guys are efficient. Personally, the government center yachi. Banaku bajja kukola n'amaanyi. Baagala osanyusa minisita abaweereza. They will be efficient. Memoa us. Menchiva. But nayo ochant bwoba okintu okimanyi, you can break the question. Agenda ogimalayo nga naawe olegera bw'oteesa. Okay? Yes, but it takes time, but you will get there. Okay? Then if it is not domestic restricted, we have domestic open bidding. Okay? Domestic open bidding. Nga bagireka buli ayagala n'akola ki? Naye ye Uganda nga tekola. Bakozesa restricted. They restrict themselves to particular people. Okay? They open domestic. All companies dealing in that product, they are free to apply. Yes. No, just the reason why I use that. Yes, it's an example. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Okay. No, it's okay. Okay. So we shall continue from there tomorrow. Okay. But we shall repeat tomorrow as well. Okay, let's meet outside.